Yes.
I know you gotta be all professional right now.
All right, you should be, we are live. I think everything's good. Great.
Okay, we will call the November 19th Strategic Planning Committee meeting together. How about to order also. It's the first time we've been together for a long time, and that's where I was going with that, so I apologize. It was really hot at the YMCA pool, you guys, and it was like really hard to even get dressed into something that was acceptable to be in this building, so I apologize for being a couple minutes late.
We appreciate you being accepted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been a really
Could have gotten awkward.
bad t-shirt and ugly shorts and tennis shoes, wet tennis shoes. So anyway, we have not been together for a while. Actually, it's the first time we've met since we had new configuration. Today we have a topic to discuss that actually is one of the tenets of the strategic plan, which was community transportation. Everybody's aware of the request that's been made to us from our friends at HATS for one, oh, thank you. You are now my best friend.
Anyway, man.
Anyway, we'll see how long that lasts. We have a request for, I believe it is $100,000, to buy a couple of buses to run in a new configuration of transportation system. So with that, I want to turn it over, I guess, Mayor, do you want to pick this up? Or should we turn it over to our friends from HATS to go through?
Just one comment, I just want to clarify, it's 100,000 from the city, then I believe the commissioners are considering 64,000, community foundation 100,000. And that would be the local match that would then bring in an additional 1.2 or 1 million from the federal government through the ODOT program. So it is a more significant fund. We are not providing the full amount. And that these would be utilized both as replacement vehicles now and then would be the proper configuration if we move to a fixed route. So these are not just something, they are more of a, typically they wouldn't come to us for capital requests, but they typically just kind of spread it out more. But because it is a more robust opportunity right now and they can leverage more dollars by doing it now, that is why they have come to us, because their local match funds that they typically have available are not currently available. So that is all I would say, and I'll hand it over to Josh and Judy.
All right, so this just laid out for you guys. You guys can continue to make yourself.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Jamie Baker, I'm the Director of Transportation for the HHWP Community Action Commission. We run HATS Transportation in town here, a public transit provider for Hancock County. And our request is for $100,000. It's one of 3 requests we're making to acquire these vehicles. We're acquiring 5 vehicles. They're low floor vehicles, accessible vehicles for everybody to get on. And we will use them for future fixed route service, but in the interim, we do need an upgrade of our fleet, and we can use this with our demand response service as soon as we get the vehicles.
How many are in your current fleet?
25 vehicles in our current fleet.
And then would you get all 20, is it desire to get these 5 all at the same time?
Yes.
So
Yes.
then you're gonna have this big capital investment working its way through, so in 7 years, you're gonna have 5. You're gonna have a big capital ask in 7 years versus spreading it out if you did 2, 1, 2, or 2, 2, 1 or something.
Yeah.
I think that's the work in the calculus.
Yeah, that's possible, but you know, the way we operate now is we replace them 2, 3 at a time. These are specialized vehicles, low floor vehicles that we don't normally purchase, and this would be for fixed route service that we hope to be in 2027.
So just to add to that, if I may,
If you are.
thank you. Josh Anderson, President and CEO of the Community Action Commission, Hancock, Hardin, Wyandotte, and Putnam Counties. To your point, Councilman, would need the 5 up front because you need a minimum of 5 to have an effective fixed route system per the recommendation of our transit development plan. This is the first phase of several phases to get there, and it's possible that if we don't get there, we've taken that into consideration too, and these vehicles won't go to waste, so to speak. What we will do is as we get further into this development plan and we find a definitive answer as to whether a fixed route system is feasible, then it'll be one at a time. Well, instead of having 5, having to purchase 5 more at the end of the useful life of these vehicles, we'll say, okay, we know we have an ongoing fixed route service. We know we're going to need these low floor vehicles. So let's replace one of our traditional vehicles one at a time with new low floor vehicles. And then that will ultimately be a rolling replacement to your point. So you're not having needing 5 vehicles all at once every, what is it, 10 years of useful life? Is that helpful?
Yep.
Perfect.
That's sufficient. You're curious of your customers, the service is phenomenal. You have a large number of aged customers. The ability you have. But what percentage, if you had to say, of your customers are aged versus economically challenged because they're not making enough to afford vehicles?
I think it's about 50-50. Because, you know, we do a lot of workforce transportation.
Sure.
Over half of our rides are for workforce. A lot of those are older folks that are still needing to be employed. Sure. And make a living. So, I mean, that's a key part of it too. But, you know, it's a lot of service and retail industry. We have a lot of that here, and those folks don't have.
I appreciate that because I'm going to continue to argue to this group. If we got to close some of those businesses because we're opening businesses that pay better, you're going to be a good litmus test for me if you don't mind me staying in touch with you over the next several years to see how we're doing with our economic development. Are we bringing in companies that are allowing percentage-wise based on our population, your ridership, right? More in favor, better economically.
Right. I mean, it's retail service industries.
Yep.
That's most of our workforce transportation right now. Although, because we do have a problem with our hours, we got to stay within our budget. So we can't just expand hours, you know, just because we got to stay within our budget, or else we wouldn't be open until midnight to get those second shift workers. And that's one area we're missing right now is the second and third shift factory workers, because we're done before 10 o'clock. And nobody wants to go there and sit there for an hour before your shift starts. So, I mean, that's one of the gaps we're trying to fill.
And on my last question is, do you guys do any surveys of your customers in terms of what their situations are for mining data out of those customers, either here or in the other counties?
Typically, no, because we are open to everybody. Anybody can ride public transit. So we don't typically do that.
One thing I would mention, it sounds like also in some of the conversations, you also have a population of individuals that have lost their license or maybe have a car that broke down or for whatever reason, you know, don't have a license and therefore are utilizing this also.
We
Another demographic.
have a contract with adult probation, and we take folks to adult probation multiple times a day. They're trying, but they need a little help. And help them get to where they need to go. So.
Chip, at the meeting yesterday, or 2 weeks ago, you mentioned that cities, municipalities are, Ohio Revised Code doesn't let municipalities run transportation systems. And that's why we see transit authorities.
Yes.
And they're so like, I'll just take Coda down in Columbus. So that means all the Franklin County communities are chipping in.
Well, and again, I don't want to step on where the law director would be more appropriate to speak, but yeah, from a fiscal perspective, there in code, it actually specifies the functions that a municipality specifically can do, and it has to be specifically stated or implicit in the language that it's permitted, and transportation is not permitted for municipalities at this point in time. Is my understanding.
Well, I will say cities do run transit.
They have to with the transit authority, so it's
No.
a separate entity.
The city of Wilmington, city of Sandusky.
Their charter may allow it.
Yeah, so they do, there are city-run transit agencies, but a lot of us, like Sandusky, they farm it out to a company called First Transit. So First Transit runs their transit for them. But there are cities, smaller cities usually than the city of Findlay. But you're right, Mr. Russell, transit authorities, RTA, that's the Regional Transit Authority for Allen County. And you know, of course, all of the large cities have their own regional transit authorities.
So we're a county of about 80,000 people. Are we, is Hancock County the largest county without fixed transportation of 80,000 people?
Yes,
Or-
the city of Findlay is.
No, county. So
I'm not sure about.
we're 40,000 in a sea of, in a sea of 80,000. We're not the same thing as Avon Lake, Ohio, that might, I don't know what population Avon Lake is, around my head. But if a 40,000 person community that is in a large MSA, a large metro area, it's not a comparison. So, you show me a 40,000, I'm worried about 40,000 person communities in small, well, like does Defiance have a fixed route? Does Napoleon? And I'm just,
No.
does Worcester, does, and so I,
Lancaster and Marion would be very
you got Lancaster, that's what I was trying to.
Lancaster does. Springfield does.
That was my question, Marion as well, because they're similar in size population.
Yeah, but they're starting to touch your Columbus, but.
So Marion does or does not?
I read the, this is, and I appreciate you sending it again, because after you get it, I'm like, I see this. I read this study, to me, this was a study that got the answer that you wanted. That's just my impression. And I'll tell you, my bias is, I don't think fixed route, I think fixed route transit, public transit in someplace like Findlay is something that is just going to absorb or keep needing public funding in order to make it work. We're gonna wrap a $15 bill around everybody who rides. In order to make it work. So I come in from one direction and I read something and you guys come from another direction and you read a document that says something. Regardless, you're the folks that are providing public transportation, and the community through our strategic plan says we want to improve that. So I give a lot of credence to what the strategic plan tells us to do, and I have my concerns, but I'd support your request based on the fact that we went through a process that said this is important to our citizens. I'm concerned about the viability, but that's for the guys who are experts in whose business is running transit systems to work on.
Well, and I would just say, I'm still not fully convinced on a fixed route either. I see these as two separate requests. Because I think there's gonna be a lot more dialogue around fixed route. What does it look like? What does it not look like? And I've been beating them up sufficiently already on kind of the business case and what does that look like? So I appreciate those comments because I agree, providing some more information. Yeah, Lancaster, Marion, Lima, some of these other communities do have it. So I think it'd be good for me, and they have offered to connect me with some of those other mayors and authorities to kind of better understand how it's worked and what that's looked like.
And I also look at things like, I saw the existing route system. And as soon as Blanchard Valley opens their north campus, then it's obviously fixed point in time, and you can't make a route system based on what if, but all of a sudden the route system is obsolete before it starts, and I understand it's just a proposal. And then the other thing I think about is, because Waymo is opening up driverless public transport in Los Angeles. And not that I think Waymo's gonna come to Findlay, Ohio anytime soon, but I think the technology, by the time we get to 2028, does that make fixed route systems in rural towns obsolete? But once again, that's for you guys to figure out. The strategic plan says support the efforts. I support the efforts, I just have concerns.
I guess I would say that I have similar concerns, but what I would say as well is that a lot of the folks I talk to, when I say we don't have one, they ask, well, why? Everybody else has one. Why don't you, for your citizens? And I don't have an answer to that question, but I have concerns, but I think that that's the direction we need to maybe head to a certain degree.
What were the results when we tried public transportation and it failed? What, was that under 20 or?
Marathon, they put the trolley in place.
Yeah,
Marathon paid for all the gas for free.
for a year or two.
And they ran it to see if there would be interest, and there was
There
a
was.
complete lack of interest.
Based off our community members on you, so we
Yeah,
might
they were
be
running
similar in
along, they
another
were running
community
downtown.
size.
But,
It's a
some
very
people wrote
limited
it.
route.
Yeah,
They
some people
weren't,
wrote it.
and it wasn't targeted at those
Right.
who needed transportation.
Yeah, it didn't go out to talk timbers, it didn't.
It was to get people shopping, retail,
That's right,
restaurants. That's what
It
it
was
was.
mostly downtown, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't-
Downtown shopping center.
Yeah.
It wasn't up and down Main Street, because we
Yes.
also did the
It was-
effort to break from remote parking. It was just an up and down Main Street.
Pretty much, but we did try to fix route in the past. And United Way just started to catch on. United Way pulled the funding from it, and that's when it ended. So and I don't know what year that was.
Right before probably 2012, 2011, 2012.
I think that's a big part of the conversation that we've been having is related to the marketing of the system. I think there definitely is a interest in a variety of populations to have public transit, right? To get downtown, to get to shopping, to do those different things as a layer to the kind of workforce transportation need. But the expectation of what that looks like is very different. So it's going to need to be, and that's one of the reasons moving to these vehicles are also less kind of stigmatized, right? They're not the buses that you see that maybe don't have a connotation of a workforce rider to being able to, and then talking about the marketing that would go into it, the wraps and the overall look, right? Because if you go to Tiffin, for example, they have public transportation going around Tiffin, but it looks, and it's geared towards university students, but open to everyone. So it has a different look that is a little more welcoming. And so I think that those are some of the questions that need to be more vetted that we've kind of been talking about to help break down that stigma to be able to make it a broader audience for utilization.
And to Mr. Russell's point, Tiffin does have fixed route service, so that is kind of a similar, so does Fremont.
Let me add one other comment for you. I encourage you, based on the structure of the city, as you develop what your long-term plan is, to get with the planning and zoning and some of our other committees that are actually designing the town and HRPC, because they don't realize a lot of times when they're doing the design that there's value in areas where there are a large number of apartments, there are a large number of the workforce support system. And I know the schools are actually arguing counter to that point. They want it more spread out. So you guys have to get your voice in as well and help create a balance so the community is balanced as we address this need long term.
Isn't State Tiffin under your banner?
No. There's another Great Lakes Community Action Commission. That's the top.
So some of these comparable communities, you mentioned Marion, Lancaster, are they subsidized by cities on their ongoing operations?
Yes, some are.
Yeah.
Not all, but some.
How-
Lima, that's a regional transit, they're funded by a 1/10 of 1% sales tax in the county. That's how they're funded. They cover the entire county, the entire city. Fantastic job.
how about Marion, Lancaster?
Marion, those are both city, Marion and Lancaster are both city-run transit agencies. Marion just serves the city of Marion now. Lancaster serves the entire Fairfield County, much like we do with Hancock.
I'm just trying to understand, what's the ask gonna look like later, 3 years from now? I don't know. I guess.
I think publicly available pro forma that we worked on, and there's a deficit of about 400,000 that's currently being covered by Jamie's contract revenue. And so to answer your question, the specific ask and the need is going to vary based on how many stakeholders we can come on board. We're working real hard at advocating to the business community. We've had some good meetings out at Tall Timbers. And Jamie already mentioned some of the other partners we hope to engage and find value in this. We do, in the long run, which we certainly will be looking for ways to have a dedicated source of local match rather than relying on fee-for-service contract revenue. But it's very difficult to tell exactly what that's going.
But yeah, I mean, we need the hospital, the university to get on board, other employers, everybody needs to be part of this. Because it's a big problem in the community. There's times where I have to tell people no. I hate to do it, but I have to tell people no, especially at peak hours when people want to work 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. At least with a fixed route system, there's going to be something for you to get you where you need to go. Because right now with demand response and our budgetary limitations, and just the way demand response transportation works, there's times when there's nothing available.
What kind of usage do you see demand response losing to fixed route? Or will you cease to do?
We will cease to do demand response. Because that was one of the problems too with the previous fixed route. You were running demand response and you were running a fixed route. Why would you wait at a bus stop when you could get somebody to pick you up at your house and take you where you want to go? You would.
Will
Wouldn't
serve
go
the
there.
senior community.
Well, let me add, we won't completely do away with demand responsive. Demand responsive will become means tested. In other words, we'll have a complementary paratransit
Yeah.
service that you have to qualify for by either being elderly or disabled. And then we also will continue a demand responsive system in Greater Hancock County.
How do you see that changing in the forecasting? I mean, Medicaid, Medicare, all of these programs are subsidizing and giving people allowances, which I assume demand response is, you're able to collect through them on that, or no?
No.
So you guys aren't doing
The
anything
only
there?
Medicaid transportation we do is through Job and Family Services.
So, but that could be one-on-one transportation.
That could
And
be
just
kind of-
like Medicare programs could be one-on-one transportation.
Right.
So they seem to be giving more pots of money to people that are at that level of income that need assistance. So if they can get that private transport and not have to get on a bus, should we be focusing more on other types of vehicles in your fleet to be able to address that, looking at the big picture going forward? Because that seems to be where it's going, at least in my opinion.
Well, are you talking about accessible vehicles or?
Well, I mean, right now you have 8 passenger HATS
Yeah, right.
vehicles, and these are gonna be 16.
5, 16 passenger?
But transporting people, 1 or 2 people in a vehicle that you can go a 60-mile route on or whatever, one direction, you're gonna get subsidized on that, but if you're in that programming network, which comparing us to a metro community to more of a rural, I
So
see that as more than.
Jamie and I were at the transportation committee meeting, I guess 2 meetings ago, so probably September. And talked a little bit with the owners of 2 of our local taxi companies. And they actually are the ones that are primarily doing that Medicaid on-demand service. So they are both set up, correct me if I'm wrong,
yeah.
Jamie, because they both asked, like, well, are you gonna now be a part of that program? And Jamie's like, no, I can't do both of those things. So both of the taxi companies.
Are they managing it well with the
Oh.
2 that we have,
All
or
right,
do they?
let me clarify. We do Medicaid transportation. But right now, the cab companies do more Medicaid transportation, and this was a great thing that Randy Bell with the Job and Family Services did, because you know what? This keeps the cab companies whole and keeps them in the transportation game in the city of Findlay. A lot of cab companies go out,
But they're getting into Uber on those, they're getting into all those types of
Right. But
independent
locally-
drivers are able to use those programs.
locally through the JFS, they've ramped it up, so the cab companies, and we do that transportation here as much as we can to Medicaid, not to Medicare. Medicaid, I know. But, so that's really keeping us going that contract revenue. Yeah, it's keeping the cab companies going.
But you
I know
don't, so you
Medicare
don't
as a
see
whole-
government force, I'm not just saying government Medicare, I'm saying, but you don't see the government looking at giving more pots for Medicaid folks, for Medicare, for people.
Nah, probably
You,
not. I
you see
think
them still pushing towards transportation.
yeah, I think so. I don't think they're gonna make it like self-directed. Maybe.
So it comes down to, thank you, Jake. No. You know, we have a strategic plan that asks us to look into this and provide more public transportation to our city. I guess for me personally, I'm kind of like Grant, looking at this situation. Here's a situation for $100,000 that we can fit that bill. Potentially meet a need that our citizens have listed many times. That was, you all remember back several years ago, that was a big ask. It happened quite a bit, right, Jim? In all the groups that we sat in, that always came up. So I think we really need to look at this pretty hard. Maybe this is our way to do that. Relatively inexpensive. It's not terribly expensive, by the way.
Transportation's inexpensive, but it's not cheap.
But nothing's cheap anymore. But
I was gonna see if I could support your comments.
Yeah.
From a fiscal officer perspective, not having operational costs, not having ongoing analytical costs, and strictly making capital contributions when it fits your budgetary ability. It's a good way to approach business that you really don't want to be in.
yeah, and that Jim, you make a good point. We yeah, we don't want to be in the transportation business. We wouldn't run it nearly as well as Jamie does. It's like we can't run a swimming pool to save our rear ends. So there are certain things that we don't do well. And this would definitely, I would guess, would be. I wouldn't say anything against her.
I'm sure we would do it great, but I would rather not do it. Know your areas of expertise.
It's not our area of expertise. So,
Looking for a motion,
yes, sir.
recommend, to full council that we, support this request.
Motion and a second to support the request for $100,000 to HATS, actually sent to HATS, HWDC, and their request for $100,000. Discussion.
What if you don't get it all? Will you be able to get half the vehicles?
I was gonna say I'm in support of this, but I have the same concerns as Grant and everybody else about subsidizing this in the future if we have fixed routes. It's a big concern.
Agreed. And sorry, I want to let you know next. That was a good question, but as the auditor said,
In this case,
it
it's.
gives us the ability
ability
to make this decision
Exactly.
again.
Yeah, exactly.
See if they're doing a good job at it.
But it's just the
Maybe not.
long-term concerns about coming back for fixed route.
But Holly, did you have some
That's-
specific?
But I would just, if we didn't get it all.
Yeah, so that was where I was gonna go next, because we know we've got the commissioners, correct? Who else is playing in this game? Community Foundation. And the Community Foundation, so, and they've not finished up their commitments yet, correct? So I would suggest that we add to the motion that,
It's already.
is that cooked into the
That was in the
legislation already,
legislation.
Mayor?
I believe so. I know we talked
We
about it.
talked about
so,
doing it.
Yeah, it would be contingent upon them securing the remaining funds.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's-
With that, the record also have to do release the funds, share documentation that those two other organizations did. And then if not, I come back to you folks and say, hey, we don't want the two, but what do you want to do? Very good.
But if they got half, would you get two vehicles? Would we be supporting two vehicles? Or it's like if you don't get this full amount, then the grant doesn't go.
Yeah, I mean, the key is to get the full amount, because it's gonna take us the grant application, December 31st. We wouldn't, we wouldn't get the vehicle, we wouldn't get to order the vehicles until July when the state fiscal year starts. So we wouldn't get them until the following July which would be July 2027.
Plus they're getting a discount,
2026.
primarily to your point, they're getting a discount for the five kind of an economies of scale by buying so many at a time. So I think the commissioners are on board. All the conversations I've had with them are supportive, and the community foundation just wanted to see another governmental entity step up as well. So I don't, their meeting is this week, I think.
Yeah.
Might have been today, actually.
Further discussion.
I would just kind of say I would be supportive as well. I just think not so much the way getting started, but long-term logistical concerns. That's where I'm at, but I think that's where the rest of the community is too. So.
Good. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the recommendation signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Eric, did we want to go on and talk about a couple other topics?
Yep,
And do
right.
excuse?
Thank you very much.
Jeff?
That's
Good
Jeff.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, I know not to wait anymore, but you might want to, in your strategic plan itself, have bullet point notations a year to support those.
Yeah, that's a good point,
That's
Jim.
part of the that was part of the
Part of our
process.
follow-up process.
Yep, right.
So, but actually just put it right out there. Like, well, we'll do this.
Any problem?
All right, so
Mayor, go ahead.
two quick items. One, you will have a amended piece of legislation, that's how it's being presented. So what we are requesting is the remaining funds that were in the demolition project that we had allocated. We would like to direct those towards the airport renovation, for one of their buildings, correct? That's which
The
one?
airport, it's called the snow removal building, but yeah,
Now,
snow equipment.
originally, and the way I'm asking to make sure I specify that, we originally were going to direct them towards some infrastructure improvements on the mall property. As the site plan was coming through and we were looking at that redevelopment and they were gonna have to tear up the parking lot, we were talking internally and said, for the Tiffin Avenue corridor, we would like to shift your entrance farther east so that we have better alignment and a safer entrance. And then we also wanted to reconfigure some of the water and sewer lines in that area because they are kind of all jacked up. With that though, the developer is willing to take care of those reconfiguring if we will cover the cost of that. And it's $200,000 approximately, I think is what we had in the legislation. So as we were working with Ginger, what she said is for ease of reporting and making sure that everything with ARPA money is clean, we would like to put the $200,000 towards the airport project, which will get it off our books by the end of the year. We already have the project open, and then we will just use $200,000 of capital dollars that were going to be coming from the capital fund towards the development project for the mall.
Yeah, my concern long-term for the benefit of the committee members is, it was clear with the ARPA money, we cannot have any appearance of being going towards economic development or an economic development project. So we want to make sure that there's no appearance to an auditor down the road who has no idea the what's and whys. They're just gonna say, wait a second, we put this in, somebody built somebody built a facility, because you put that.
And used to it.
Yeah, and we don't, and that would jeopardize all of the money to all that, so.
Is that on tonight's agenda?
Yeah, so originally I had the airport building on there, but then I put in an amendment today to move 200,000 of capital funds out and put in the 200,000 of demo, transfer that over. So that frees up that 200, but that gives us a little bit more flexibility where we don't have to have certain reporting and all that with that, where the airport's a clean one and it's, you know, it's same amount of funds, just make sure it's clean.
Sorry, just for clarifying. So that is all. I just wanted to make you guys aware of that and get your support on it. Sorry, we were working through the tweet was wrong. Jim and I are not on the committee, so it just had the wrong numbers. So we just wanted to make you guys aware of that. I don't think we necessarily need a motion out of this group, but just kind of wanted to bring you up to speed on how that was being handled. And I guess you certainly would be supportive of a motion to support utilizing the capital funds to update our infrastructure. And it obviously is part of the further development at the mall property.
I don't think
And
it's,
that's
I don't think it's a strategic planning issue, to be honest. It's an appropriations discussion that
It's not strategic plan. It's not our plan, it's something that's already been done.
That's fine. This honestly, it was an item that came up last minute where we were gonna change the approach on it, so I wanted to get it before, but we'll just bring it up at full council. And
It's pretty
that's fine.
straightforward. Yeah, it's just not a big.
The final item was downtown. So as we've been working through kind of compliance documentation, what I wanted to just kind of talk through real quick. Was mainly this section. I'm just gonna hide these just a second. So what I wanted to talk through with you all is as we approach this, we've been talking to Figner, and I just wanted to kind of bounce off of you all. Obviously preserving the heartbeat of the community, which we designate, downtown, that was part of the strategic plan. What I did was went through and distinguished all of the work that our team does.
Wait, I'm sorry, what is the topic we're talking about?
Downtown.
Downtown.
And DFID, kind of
Okay, oh,
the
okay.
relationship of those and how we want that relationship to proceed.
Okay.
So what I did is went through and looked at all the different activities and then defined, is it specific to downtown? Yes or no? And is it specific to DFID? So as you'll see, landscaping, no, it's not specific to downtown. Would we still do this if DFID did not exist? Yes. So no, it's not unique to downtown because we maintain the welcome to Finley signs, we welcome maintain our parks, we maintain anywhere else that the city has installed landscaping like we did downtown. Would we still do this? Yes, I assume that we would still maintain our landscaping in downtown. The next thing is the litter pickup and kind of cleaning up the downtown, cleaning up the landscaping. Is it unique to downtown? No, our teams go out and clean up litter in various areas all the time. They're not hitting every single neighborhood. But if somebody calls and says a trash can got knocked over, they're cleaning it up. If we are driving on main roads and they say things, they're cleaning it up. Would we still do this? Yes. Snow removal on the streets, is it unique to downtown? No. Would we still do it if DFID existed? Yes. Street lights? No. Yes. Trees? No. Yes. So the three that I want to kind of talk about, because if you look, the blue ones, banners, Christmas decorations, no. I'm sorry. I am looking at it on my screen and did not share it with you.
You were doing really well up until
I
you
was
said the
doing-
blue ones.
the Come on, guys, the blue. Okay. So we have banners. Is it unique to downtown? Yes, but would we continue to do those? Yes. Christmas decorations? Yes. Snow removal on sidewalks? Yes. Trash cans? Yes. So the three that I feel like are unique to DFID that we may not do if are unique to downtown that we may not do if DFID did not exist are the flowers, flower watering, and the music. Those are things that have kind of been over and above items that were added to the downtown district. So I guess before I go any farther, I just kind of wanted to bounce off to you all. Does that make sense in the breakup? And do you kind of agree with the assessment of things that we would do or not do as kind of part of our maintenance of downtown?
I need to comment here because there's a couple things. One, this is a political response to a financial question. And the financial question, the legal question is it a proper public purpose, which is ultimately the purvey of you folks as city council. From my perspective, I don't care if we do these things or not, but it's very clear that whether it be the trash cans, the snow removal, you can say they're downtown functions and we would do them anyways. However, we're doing them on private property. We're not doing them on private property in Tiffin Avenue. We're not doing them on private property up north in the north end of town. We're not doing them on private property in West Park. We just don't. And that's normal. We can do it, we choose to do it. What the argument here is, and what the need is that the administration put budgetary numbers in each of these lines, present it to you proactively, the 2025 budget, and you guys stamp them as approved. Irregardless of whether you want to make this argument or not, the landscaping, we don't put mulch other than in our parks. We don't put mulch on private property. We don't plow snow on private property with the sidewalks. There are things that we do and we don't do, and that's beside the point. So let's not get money in an irrelevant point. The argument here is, and the need for me to be able to pay these bills is, I need the administration to budget this out, and even if it's $200,000. I
I'm
don't
getting
care.
to that point if you allow me to
So-
continue through the
So
information I've
ultimately,
prepared.
if you guys are cool with it, she puts a budget to it for everything, not just what she feels is okay. And you pass it, I pay it, problem solved. It's that simple.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Can you help me understand the mulch, the islands, the bump outs? The city is the owner of those. Those are in the public right of way. So what portions of downtown are we
The
landscaping?
sidewalks too, is it just?
The sidewalks have a section out from their building, 3 feet
Right.
that is there. But on your property, the sidewalk, you're responsible for maintaining it as they are. However, it is different in the downtown area
So there's
because
about 3
you have
feet.
nowhere for them to put the snow except for in the road that we're gonna plow back in. Now so I think, let's go back to my original question. Thoughts on this assessment? Have to dollar figures to go through.
I thought the music was ours in the first place. Didn't we put that in as part of the renovation content? That was paid for by,
Yeah, matter of fact, the reason the DFID was created was to generate funds to pay for these things. The city doesn't pay for it.
I understand the flowers, Jim, but the
But
music
it-
system, did we not put that in?
DFID
that-
paid
Yeah.
for the initial
Yes.
system we put in, and we are paying the monthly for the music.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that was the idea. So
Understood.
in the 60,000, and what happened was, simple, was as they had an individual watering the flowers. And then when they went and got bids, the bids came in, they were paying somebody $18,000 a year, and then the bids came in $65,000 or $70,000 number, which was a real, it was market rate. So what they found is their assessments don't keep up with market rate. That's getting beside the point. Ultimately, as long as we have permission, you guys can pay for whatever you want. I would caution you, though, that in doing it, there is a lot of argument that the downtown support, I don't think it challenges that. You need to look at what you do as a whole across the entire city, where is it appropriate, and where isn't it?
Understood.
When you're outside the park system.
Not to cut you short, but we got 10 minutes. I was gonna say, we got.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
The strategic plan, 0.5 an attractive place, 0.5.2. Protect and enhance Finley's downtown is the heartbeat of the community. I think we've been in the downtown business for forever. And, you know, we knowingly support this. The DFID, its creation was to do enhancements. But I think there would be a lot of, you heard a lot of voices of flowers to go up next year. And one of the flowers, obviously, that means watering. Music, I don't know if that plays that important part or not, but for flowers and decorations and snow removals and all of it, and trash can, I think there's, the strategic plan is set as such, that it's important.
Yeah, and all I need is this packaged up in its own independent ordinance and passed, and then the other component of that is, we just passed the DFID ordinance saying that we're gonna collect $60,000, that was intended to come back a large portion to the city. And if you guys are gonna acknowledge that that's not gonna come back, because they do have an agreement in place.
so that's exactly why we're having this conversation and what I wanted to understand, because there's a couple of ways to handle it. Until about 2 years ago, when we took over the watering, DFID maintained all of their revenue and they were investing it into the downtown in other ways. So what we need to determine, what I just want to have a better understanding, and I'll share this with you. We can set up another time to discuss it since we didn't have sufficient time, and I apologize that I didn't get to send this out ahead of time. We just got this finalized literally this afternoon at 3:30. So, but what I'm working on with Feichner is then just something that defines, these are the things that we as city council, as the city of Findlay, believe are important and would proceed with regardless of anything else. And then we would define what things we think that DFID would support, and then what I'll kind of think on, and happy to have conversations if you guys have thoughts strongly on it, is we have kind of 2-3 different avenues. One, they maintain it and figure out other creative ways to invest it in downtown that are outside of kind of normal city business that wouldn't necessarily make sense for them to have a portion of it come to us and continue for us to help cover our expense and then also invest in other ways. And then a third option is to have them invest it or a portion of it into the downtown, what's it called? The Community Improvement Fund at the foundation, and that has flexibility where it can be drawn on kind of as needed for different things, but it also allows it to accumulate.
And then I think this should just become the standard, like our other ordinances in the first meeting every year, you just pass it. Like the standard ordinance.
Only while they have DFID. If they get rid of DFID, then do you have to have an ordinance?
Well, it depends on administration.
I mean, they're getting an ordinance for money and we're not taking it from them. And we've changed our scope since DFID.
It still makes it year to year though, but
Which is how it's been handled, because the last couple, the memorandum of understanding that we have in place with them is at my discretion. So it's just kind of a year-to-year agreement anyway.
I don't know, quick poll with the committee. Is anybody who doesn't want to continue these things to happen downtown? Okay. I think we all want to see continue for downtown to continue to thrive. To me, this stuff has just become part of the landscape down there with the enhancements of what we did back under Lydia with the streets, pump outs, whatever, all that stuff. I think we need to figure out how to get that done so that Jim's happy with the budget side of it. That's cool. Then I would like to hear what DFID wants to do with their money they're collecting. Some kind of, not that, well, we do care. Is that what you're going to say, Grant?
Private group.
Yeah, I
Well,
understand that, but at the same
Councilman
time.
Russell is the council's designee to DFID, so he attends those meetings, myself, Jack, a combination of us attend regularly and typically have. One of the things that they're working on right now is they've gotten permission from all of the property owners that have pedestrian alleyways and are purchasing bistro lights to put up in all the alleyways to improve safety, lighting, and aesthetics. So that's something that DFID has done, but we coordinated with them to say, here's how you would need to go through it, here's the approval we would need, and then we can help put them up in the alleyways. Here's where, lights or electricity locations are at and all that jazz. So I think that those are the perfect examples of things that we may not have done without DFID, but it's something over and above that we can go to DFID and say, can you take care of this cost?
Similar to the comments on transit, DFID is moving towards, for lack of a better term, buying things instead of maintaining things. The challenge with the water and the flowers was they just couldn't find the labor force. And it was that the city's labor force was always going to be a more expensive option, but it was going to be reliable. They just could not find reliable labor. Even the private market labor wasn't one of water on weekends and three-day weekends especially, which was the challenge. So I think in the last few years, you see a focus shift to say, we, the DFID, will purchase CapEx enhancement type things, but it's got to be sustainable. It doesn't involve DFID maintenance support. And that similar to what our conversations with the process. We'll do the CapEx, we just won't do the operation.
And you'll see here in a couple of weeks, some new Christmas decorations going up. Hopefully they arrive. And that was a partnership between Convention and Visitors Bureau, DFID, and the Community Foundation. And the city helped get those funds through the Community Foundation because we kind of led the charge on a grant application and all of that. So I think doing those types of things will be beneficial. So we will work to get this wrapped up in documentation and to the auditor, and then don't be surprised if you see an ordinance on your next agenda.
Any questions?
Well, this could be part of the budget ordinances, so it'd be like ordinance number 4, budget. So we do 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
And just want to do it first meeting.
Yep.
Very cool. Any other questions on that topic? With that, we'll bring this meeting to a close. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks all.